So the first topic tonight is about generating random numbers with the random class. So now we talked a little bit about Math.random and whatnot, but I just wanted to make sure to cover this. So random is a class that's given by the Java API for the purpose of generating random numbers. Of course, if you had an application that was a game or simulating rolling a dice or something like that, you would want a random number. But the reason I want to introduce this is because it's a new class, a new object that Java gives us. So the random class, and it's a little bit better than Math.random, although there are trade-offs to using either one, but either one are fine. So to use the random class, you have to import java.util.random. And so we're familiar with java.util from scanner, which is also in that class. And then the way you instantiate it is by saying random and then give it a variable name, like we'll just call it random numbers, and then equals new random. Just like with scanner, we say scanner keyboard equals new scanner, but with scanner we say system.in. Same kind of instantiation of this object. So instantiation means we make our own local copy of an object, and then we can use it just like a variable, as we all know, next with keyboard. So we do the same exact thing with the random class, and we give it a name, and it can be random. It can be random numbers. It can be anything. And then because it's an object, a Java object, it has methods, just like with string has methods. Scanner has the next methods and things like that. So random has several methods, but the ones that are important for our purposes are that it has one that gives us a double, which is a number between, in this case, 0.0 and 1.0. So if you reference your local copy of random, which I called random numbers, if we say random numbers dot next double, we get a random double between that range. Next float gives you the number as a float within that range. Next int gives you an integer, and it's between a wide margin of numbers. So a very wide margin of numbers, because those are all the numbers that are supported by integer as an integer. So what I would recommend is actually to give it a limit, a bound. So you can do that by specifying a parameter within next int, and we will take a look at that. And we'll take a look at that right now, actually. So I'd actually like to just start off with the Math.random because we're more familiar with it, or we've seen it before. So if we say random double, save the file and run it, and Math.random gives us a random double, it has the same rules as the random class. It gives you a random double between 0.0 and 1.0. So there's only 2 lines in this code. It gives you a random number. I did want to just point out and give you a little tip. Well, first of all, if you multiply that number by 100, then you start to get an integer. Well, I'm sorry, not an integer, but you get a number that's between 0 and 100. So that's how you take it up to a number, a whole number between 0 and 100. And then I just wanted to document for you guys that then there are 2 methods of getting just the integer from that. So you can use another method from the math class called math.round, and of course you round this down, so 85. Another way you could do it is to provide as a parameter the same a random double times 100, and then do a printf. And you could do it by specifying that it is a float or a double, but we want 0 numbers after the decimal point, and then we'll do the 2 or whatever. We'll do a new line after it, but that's not part of the randomness of it all. So yeah, you see. So using Math.random, I've just come up with 2 ways, and I'm sure you could come up with your own ways of getting that integer from a double. But by default, it's a double. So this is Math.random. We've seen it before. It is from the math class, and you don't have to import anything. So now what we're talking about now is the random class. So the first thing is that we have to import it. So we have to have this import statement up here, and then later, I'm sorry, this is code that we've seen in the other file, so I'll just get rid of that for now. Okay, so how does the random class work? It works like this, as we've seen in the notes and whatnot. You import it, and then you instantiate a local variable that we call random numbers, and then you say next double, and then you run it. And so from there, you get this double. But the helpful thing about this random class is that you can request, as we've seen in the notes, whatever type of random number you want. So you can get a random Boolean, a random double, a random integer, a random float, long, all these primitive data types. You can request that type. Remember, I said by default the integer range is really, really big, so you might not want to have it be such a big range because it also includes negative numbers. So you can get like a negative number. Let's say you just wanted to have a roll of a dice game. You might say, I think you might want to say, let's say 1 in 6. So from here, you're getting a random number that's between 1 and 6. So it's useful in like a dice game. So just to wrap up with this, the differences between Math.random and the random class, there's a few. Over here on the left with the random class, you have to instantiate it, so you have to make a local copy of it. You also have to import a class, the random class, whereas with Math.random, you don't need to do any of that. You just make it without instantiating it, without importing anything. However, when it comes to printing out a range of numbers, a specific range of numbers, that's what the random class does for you, which you actually do not have here in Math.random. Although there might be a way to specify the range, but right out of the box, there is a method that you can tell it what bound to generate the random number in using the random class. However, Math.random, you don't need to import anything, and you don't need to instantiate anything. You can just use it right away. So the choice is yours, but I make no judgments either way. You just have to, with Math.random, you just have to do a little bit of extra work if you want an integer, and you just convert it using some type of Math.round or some type of string format or something like that. So so that's the differences between Math.random and the random class, and it's good to take note of those because we're going to get more into We're going to learn about more Java classes next.